Trinadapi sunichena Toradeva sahishnuna Amanina manadena Kirtaniya sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. May Krishna bless you and protect all of you. I am invited by the temple board, by the blessings of Guru and Krishna, to come here once a month and speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam picks up where Bhagavad Gita leaves off. Krishna's final commandment in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadhaman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja aham tvang sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. This statement by Krishna is revolutionary because of the phrase Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Here is God, the topmost authority, who is the propounder of Dharma, and he's saying, Parityaja, abandon it. But what instead? Surrender to him. Because that statement is the essence of religion. Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharmaraj, Yamaraj, the judge, the final judge, he says, it is his statement. What is religion? What is Dharma? He says, whatever God says. Yamaraj is not God. He's representative of God. So he says, Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. What God says, that is religion. Here is God, Sri Krishna. He himself states that several times in Bhagavad Gita. Your Bhagavad Gita, not coming from China, not coming from United States of Malacha Yavana, coming from Bharatavarsha, your India, your book. So he says, Krishna says, Matak paratara na anyat, no truth superior to me. Exclusive. God is one, not two. So Krishna says there is no competitor, there is no equal, there is no rival to me. He further says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham savasya prabhava mattak sarvam pravartate. Why am I God? Because everything comes from me. Just like in the family. The children get everything from the parents. Everything comes from the parents. So Krishna says, everything material and spiritual, or anything in between, if you think there's something in between, it comes from him. Then your Lord Krishna says in chapter 15, I am Purushottama. I am the supreme, transcendental person. I am beyond both those who are fallible in this material world and infallible in Vaikuntha. I am beyond both of them. Therefore, I am known as Purusha Uttama or Purushottama. Everybody say that holy name. Very good. So when Krishna says, surrender to me, the next set of instructions is taught in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled by Bhagavan Rishi, God in the form of an empowered spiritual personality. Vyasadeva is empowered representative of God, empowered to compile the Vedic library, 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, 18 Puranas, Mahabharata, the Vedanta Sutras, and his final work, Srimad Bhagavatam. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? Nigama kalpatarar galitang phalang, the ripened fruit of the tree of knowledge which we know as Vedas. Vedas, again, not man-made. All these modern religions are man-made. Our religion is not man-made. Don't let anyone say that. Why? Because aparusheya, not made by any mundane human being. First words of Vedic knowledge were received by the Creator, Lord Brahma, at the dawn of creation. What were those teachings? 4 verses, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chattu Shloki. That is the beginning of Sanatan Dharma. There it is, the root, the essence. 4 verses of that's Sanatan Dharma. After that comes Vedas, Puranas, Itihasas. But what's the original knowledge? What Narayan spoke to Lord Brahma at the dawn of creation. Because the universe created, maintained, destroyed, created, maintained. Winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, and fall. The universe is constantly created, maintained, and destroyed. Don't worry. We're only halfway through this cycle. Don't worry. It's not coming tomorrow despite global warming. That's true, because it's Kali Yuga. But it's temporary. So, Srimad Bhagavatam originally is 4 verses, but in the format we have, it is expanded into 18,000. Because Vyasadeva was instructed by his guru, Narada Muni Bhajaya Vinna Radhika Ramana Name. Is our temple, Radha Raman. Narada's tambura, veena, what does it say? Radhika Ramana, Radhika Ramana, Radhika Ramana. Not this twangy twang sound. Radhika Ramana. That's what comes out of his instrument. That instrument was given to him by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, what is Srimad Bhagavatam? Yes, it's the ripened fruit of the tree of knowledge, which we call Vedas. Vedas means all knowledge, material, metaphysical, spiritual, mundane, it's all there. Complete. Everything you need to know. The ripened fruit, Srimad Bhagavatam. But what else is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam explains God and his relationship with his devotees. Not just God alone. God, how he is relating with his devotees. Such as Dhruva, Prahlad, Hanuman, So many incidents in the Bhagavatam, 335 chapters, 18,000 slokas, but there's always something going on between God and his devotees. Even an elephant, Gajendra. The largest section of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dashamaskanda, 10th canto, where Vyasadeva gives us a glimpse into a very important verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti takvata chakvadeham bunar janma nayati mameti kauntaya. Krishna says in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, if you understand factually my birth and activities, you don't come back to Placentia. You go to his abode, where there are no politics, where there are no bad things, no pollution, happy. So, that 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is a full explanation of that Krishna's birth and activities. Janma karma, divyam, divine, transcendental, not mundane. My activities, what we see on the TV, those are mundane activities. But Krishna's activities here on earth is divyam, divine, transcendental. And therefore, if we completely understand that 10th canto, you're eligible to join Krishna in his abode. I don't know about you, I want to go. Whether it's next life, or if it takes 100,000 lifetimes, that's my desire, to join in Krishna's eternal pastimes. I have become convinced. How I have become convinced? I'm not Hindu. I was not born this way. How I became convinced? There he is. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He convinced me. I saw him, I heard him, I served him. Now, 40 years later, here I am, trying to inspire, instill, enthuse, encourage others. Prabhupada is trying to take as many people back to Krishna. Those who want to come on board. All aboard. We're on a boat. That boat is going back to Krishna. If you don't want to get on the boat, fine. Come back, take birth, have your fun. But if you want to go back to Krishna, here's the boat. The transcendental boat of hearing about Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So that's what I first do. I give a preamble. We are currently studying the second chapter of the first canto, entitled Divinity Divine Service. Divinity means God, divine service, bhakti. That is bhakti, divine service. Sometimes there's this existential question. What is love? Love is demonstrated by service. I show you that I love you by doing something for your benefit. Something that pleases you. That's love. Parents, from the time your child was born to till day, are you not serving your children? It never stops, does it? Even they're 50 years old, you don't stop serving your grandpa, daddy. It never ends. That's what it means to have children and grandchildren. But you enjoy it, yes? Anyone who's a grandparent, that's better because you don't have the headaches. You get to enjoy the benefits and then, okay, take them back now. But still, the point remains. That service is always going to be there. So service is how we demonstrate love. Same way with God. We demonstrate our love for God first by being obedient. And then after obedience, trying to render some service. Doesn't matter how insignificant. You all know the incident of the Ramayana. Hanuman was building the bridge to Lanka with the help of the other monkeys. One squirrel was also helping. Hanuman said, "Get out of our way, we're doing big work here." Ram said, "No. He is also doing his work." Ram appreciated that service. That is the beauty of bhakti. Jatayu was unsuccessful in saving Sita. But what was his result? Ram. In the lap of Ram, looking at Ram, giving up his life, where do you think he went? To Ram. That's bhakti. Even you're not successful, nehabe krama nashosti pratyavayo navidyate swalpam. Key word in that shloka. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya. Even a little bit of service. Prabhupada used to say, even the little child claps in the kirtan, it's noted. Oh. You come, offer, pray, you hear, it's all written down in your account. And nobody can touch that account. It's got your name on it, nobody can mess. Your bhakti account. Keep accruing, keep building. This particular section of the Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami is answering the 6 questions of the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi. He has begun his answers, and we left off with this verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This particular section of Bhagavatam, this chapter, is for Prabhupada and for myself a very nice chapter. Practically every verse is full of subject matter that you can speak on very nicely. Here's today's verse. Sutta uvacha dharma svanushtita pungsang vishvaksena katasuya notpadayad yadirating srama evahi kevalam. There is a recording. Prabhupada spoke on this verse 2-3 times. And this line, Srama evahi kevalam, he would say with great emphasis. Just like earlier I said, Haranama eva kevalam, this is a little different. Shrama evahi kevalam. Here's the meaning of the verse. If you will, please respond with me. Please repeat. The occupational duties one performs according to one's own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. Thank you. So, first line, occupational activities. According to the Vedas, everyone has mandatory duties. If you're a husband, if you're a wife, if you're a child, even they have obligations. So no one is excused. If you're a human being, pungsam, the word was used, pungsam. Because you have taken a human birth, you have occupational duties. The other 8 million species of life, animals, aquatics, they don't have occupational duties. For instance, if you go through the red light, you get a ticket. If the dog jaywalks, they don't arrest the dog, they don't give the dog the ticket. But that's different. That's nature. That is God's arrangement. But they do not have any occupational duties. They are not given the higher sense. You need a higher sense. So human being and above, yes, they have occupational duties. I did not say that they didn't have intelligence. No, that's different. They have intelligence. But they have no occupation. They're not held accountable. You follow? The dog can mate anywhere in the street. There's no sin. And they don't commit any sin. But human beings, they are held to a different standard. So that's the context. But I'm glad I don't have my bell today. I would have given you a ding. So, occupational duties or activities, dharma. Now the next line, according to one's own position, meaning not everybody is the same. Clearly in Bhagavatam, the duties of a woman is different from the duties of the man. Yes, there's going to be some overlapping, but in 7th canto, Narada Muni explains, these are the duties of a woman. Even Krishna himself, on the night of the Rasa dance, gave a synopsis of Stri Dharma. What did he say to the gopis the night of the Rasa dance? Of all times, to speak about the duties of the woman, what did Krishna say? First thing, take care of the husband. Now all the husbands are going, I like this Nirantara. He speaks the right thing. Take care of the husband, take care of the husband's family. But then Krishna said, but more importantly, take care of the children. Krishna said if a woman simply does that, she gets elevated. Just for doing that. Taking care of, and the most important was taking care of the children. Okay? So, women have their own occupational duties. Men have different. Just like Ram demonstrated that. Ram demonstrated what is the primary duty of the husband. Protect the wife. Prabhupada points out, when Ravana stole Sita, Ramachandra could have said, what's one Sita? I'll create 500,000 more, just like that. Boom. No. Ram had to teach by his own example, Manushya Dharma, that if you have a wife, your duty is to give full protection. Now the lady should like me. See how it works? Everything is balanced. So Ram demonstrated that. He had to punish Ravan because he stole his wife. Hare Krishna. Haribol. Hare Krishna. So man has, and children have duties. Parents, you should look up this verse in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 17. If your children ever get out of line, there's a verse in chapter 17. Worship superiors, and Prabhupada directly puts in the translation, like father and mother. And I've always told children for the past 15 years, I come in contact with many children. That's the first thing I tell the children. You have to obey your mother and father, otherwise don't expect Krishna's blessings. Because it's Krishna's words himself. You must worship superiors like the father and mother. How do you worship? By being obedient. That's how you worship. Not we do the puja. No, worship here means obey the parents. That's how. So if you ever have problems with your children, send them to me. I'll show the verse. So everybody has occupational duties according to their own position. Now the second half of the verse is more significant. But even still, you may be doing your occupational duties. That's not enough. Just to do your occupational duties. That's not enough. Because that's the meaning of shrama. Shrama means uselessly working. That's the meaning of shrama. Wasting your time. You're driving in your car and you think you have the address where you're going, but after an hour you wind up at the same place you started. You've all had that experience. Shrama. Uselessly laboring for nothing. There is a place where shrama is happening all day. Las Vegas. They're putting their money down, and at the end, thank you for coming. Bye-bye. See you again. We have all your money. Yes. So another name for Las Vegas, Shramaloka. Shramaloka. That's why devotees don't go there. Hare Krishna. Las Vegas, I have said many times, just like in India we have our dham, right? Dwarka Dham, Rishikesh, Vrindavan Dham, Malacha Yavana, Asura Dham, Las Vegas. That's their dham. I used to know many of these people. The Asura Dham. Why is it the Asura Dham? Because what can you do there? Sinful act. They even call it Sin City. They're proud of it. Sin City. As if it's okay, because that's why they like it. Because they can do all kinds of sinful activities and they think it's okay. So, Sutta Goswami is informing us that just doing occupational duties is not enough. The real thing, rating, you must develop an attraction for the message of God. Message of God? What is the best book for the message of God? Bhagavad It's right there in the title. You don't need it anymore simplified. It's right there. Bhagavad Gita, Song of God. So, I may be doing my occupational duties, but the test is, by my occupational duties, am I becoming more attracted to the message of God? If not, something is wrong in my calculation. That's according to what Sutta Goswami is saying. Now, I'm not saying. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. Bhagavatam is saying, Sutta Goswami is saying, whatever you're doing, the test is it making you more attracted to hear the message of God? Obviously, you have passed the test. Otherwise, you would not be here right now. You would be at home, on the TV, or wherever. As you can see, it's a big weekend, right? Everybody, ooh, we got out early on Friday, let's go party. But you, different. You're here. You have come to hear the message of God, and you're looking at God. I don't mind while I talk. If you look at the deities, it doesn't bother me. Trust me. You should be looking. I'm not anything to look at. But on the altar, the most beautiful, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So, hearing, looking, if you find yourself becoming more attracted, very good. You're utilizing properly the human form of life. Otherwise, srama. Uselessly wasting time. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra. All right, we shall continue to the next verse, which correlates. It continues the theme. Dharmasya hi apavagyasya nartorta payopakalpate nartasya dharmaikantasya kamo labhaya hi smritaha. I will beg your indulgence if you could please repeat. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. So now Sutta Goswami has gone to a higher level. Again, 2 parts. So the first part applies to everyone. Again, the same subject, occupational engagements, which we already discussed, but for those who have come a little late, occupational engagements means regardless of who you are, as a human being, you have duties. No one is excused. As soon as you take a human birth, you have duties. And they're not self-created. Just as you cannot go to the judge and say, well, according to my law, there's nothing wrong in driving 100 miles an hour. That doesn't work. there is already traffic laws. So in the same way, there are laws of God, laws of nature, by which we will all be judged. There is no such thing as this law, that. There's only one law. The laws of nature, the laws of God. And again, they're not man-made. As we all know, man-made laws are very defective. That's why there are so many politicians and lawyers, and everything gets changed every 4 years. No. Standard law, the laws of nature, the laws of God are always there. So everyone has occupational duties, engagements, but this line completes the previous verse. In the previous verse, it was stated that all these occupational engagements should make you develop a taste for hearing about God, right? So now, the other way to look at it, are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. So there you have, if A equals B and B equals C, A equals C. Basic algebra. So, if you become attracted to the message of God, you will ultimately get ultimate liberation. And notice how Prabhupada, ultimate, because you can make a case that there are different kinds of liberation, but he's saying ultimate. Ultimate liberation means permanent liberation. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, having gone, you don't come back. Permanent liberation. You don't come back again to this material world. As opposed to, say, you go to the heavenly planets, which is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. From the heavenly planets, you must come down. Just like you go on vacations. But when the money runs out, gotta come back and go back to work. There is no permanent vacation. But there is permanent liberation in the kingdom of God. So, if you perform your occupational engagements and you become attracted to the message of God, you should get ultimate liberation. Now, the next half of the verse applies to someone like me, because he says, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service. So someone like me, yes, I am engaged in the ultimate occupational service. Whether it's considered bhakti yoga, or according to Bhagavad Gita, we hear Krishna say, there's no servant more dear to me than one who preaches the message of Bhagavad Gita. So that's what I do. So this second half of the verse is for me. One who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. Now, material gain comes. There's nothing wrong with that. But I am prohibited to use it for illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, gambling, overeating, over-collect. In other words, there are restrictions for someone like me. It's not that I can do whatever I like. No. I am forbidden to cultivate sense gratification with that material gain. The best example will be Prabhupada. Prabhupada received lots of money, but we don't hear of Prabhupada ordering 95 Rolls Royces, and you know what I'm talking about. Okay? And we don't hear an incident of Prabhupada staying in 5-star hotels. Where did Prabhupada stay? In America, all over the world. He stayed in his temples. And many of those temples were very meager facilities. And in the early days, there are pictures, and I know in the early days of the movement, Prabhupada was also just like one of the regular devotees, waiting in line to use the bathroom. Okay? Sleeping, very simple. In Radha Damodar temple, Prabhupada, you see pictures of Prabhupada's room in on the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. And there's no TV there. And there's no cushy bed. So the reason why us Westerners were attracted to Prabhupada is because we saw that he practiced what he preached. He was the living example. There was no funny stuff going on. Yes, as his disciples, we wanted to give him all comforts. And there are the incidents of Prabhupada in the last days going to Rishikesh, and he was outdoing his own disciples. They were there, I think, in January for the Kumbh Mela. You know what it's like. It's cold, right? And you're out there with all the other sadhus. Shall we continue? You want to hear more on Srimad Bhagavatam? If you're ready, say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. The theme continues. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa narto yascheha karmabhi. Please, if you will be so kind as to respond. Life's desires should never be directed toward sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. So this is the last verse of this theme. The next verse, we go into a new theme which is introduced in this verse. So, next thing that Sutta Goswami says, life's desires. So, desire is part and parcel of the soul. That's the first thing. There is no question of becoming desireless. That is impossible because you are a living soul. In the Buddhist philosophy, they don't believe in God or the soul. So they can try to pretend that you can become desireless because their ultimate philosophy is nothing, void, which I would never join that philosophy. No way. Makes no sense. So, desire has to be there because you're alive. We even say here in America, the will to live. Because that's part of the soul. Once you stop desiring, you don't exist. In fact, if Krishna decided not to have us exist, we would no longer exist because we emanate from Him. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. Don't worry. Oh, Krishna, please don't stop thinking it. No. But I'm just trying to illustrate a point. Our existence is like the sun ray and the sun. Do they exist simultaneously? Yes. Similarly, the soul and God exist simultaneously. I've told the story many times. Many, many years ago, I did a program in someone's house, and the young 7-8-year-old child said, so who created God? And I said, no. It doesn't work that way. So I had to explain, no, by definition, God always existed. But according to Bhagavad Gita, so also you. Second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 12th verse, Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam nemi janadipaha nachaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamataha paraham. Never was, Krishna says, never was there a time when I did not exist. He has to say that he's God. By definition, God always existed. But then he says, Arjuna, you, and all these kings on the battlefield, they also always existed, exist now, and Bhavishyama, there is even one Purana, Bhavishya Purana, the future. So your individuality, your existence is there. So as I like to make a joke, get used to yourself because you're not going away. Not the one you see in the mirror. Thank God. Oh, thank God. When you're young and pretty and handsome, you like what you see. But when you turn, I just turned 65 on Wednesday. So when you turn 65, you look in the mirror. Oh, ooh. You don't stand in front of the mirror too long. I don't know how my wife stayed with me all these years. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, you are eternal, past, present, and future. So that once you understand that, it changes your whole worldview. That you always existed and will be like that. So, because we're living souls, we will always have desire. So desire itself is not good or bad. Just like I like to tell the story of one Sai Baba follower. He once tried to trick me. Swamiji, is money good or evil? And I said, oh, come on, give me something hard. Money is neither good nor evil. It's what you do with it that determines whether it's good or evil. Not the money itself. What are you doing with the money? So the same way with desires. Desires are not good or bad. It's what is the nature of that. With that desire, what is your intention? So here, Sutta Goswami says, life's desires. He knows that you have to have desires, but should not be directed towards sense gratification. Animals and lower, that's all they know is sense gratification. We were talking in the beginning. Their nature, the way they are designed, and the level of consciousness that they have been granted, all they know is sense gratification. That's how they survive, is by sense gratification. Sri Sri Radha Raman Bhagavan Ki Jai. That's all they know is sense gratification. So human being is supposed to be above the animals. If the animals, the highest an animal can do is act for sense gratification, if a human being, all the human being does is sense gratification, then the Vedas say, Dvipada Pashu. You're a human being? No, you're a two-legged animal. Human being is something beyond that. Therefore it says, one should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Yes, healthy life. In other words, eat, but not live to eat. But eat to live. I know, everybody's saying, so why don't you practice what you preach, Prabhuji? Yes. I have a problem with prasad. But the idea is there. Healthy life. Self-preservation. Yes. It's just like I've said many times over the years. If somebody is coming to attack, we don't go like this. Oh yes, please kill me. No, you have the duty to defend yourself, to protect. We're not the aggressor. We're not the aggressor. But if we're attacked, if somebody was to come right now and attack the temple, I have to get up, defend the deities and defend the devotees. That's my duty. That's my job. Self-preservation, all of us. Now, this next statement. A human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Now he introduces the next subject matter. This is the same thing because Bhagavatam is an explanation of the Vedanta Sutra by the same author. That's another meaning of Bhagavatam. Vedanta Sutra is for the topmost Sanskrit scholars. I've tried. But doesn't matter. The author wrote his own commentary. What is that commentary? Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's only natural in the second chapter we're going to get this statement. Inquiry about the absolute truth, which is the first aphorism of the Vedanta Sutra. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. That's the first aphorism. And which I always like to make a point. The Vedanta Sutra opens with the word therefore. Huh? Therefore, wait, he didn't say anything. That's because Vedanta Sutra assumes that you already went through 108 Upanishads. Anybody gone through 108 Upanishads? You could say yes. How many of you understand Bhagavad Gita? Nobody? Come on. Yes. Bhagavad Gita is called what kind of Upanishad? Gita Upanishad. If you know Bhagavad Gita, you know the Upanishads. Okay? It's a summary, it's an essence of all of them. So, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Therefore, Vyasadeva opens, human life means this: inquiry into the absolute truth, God, which is beyond this material world. That is the real ultimate duty of a human being. This is the background of how everyone should be. Haribol. My God, brother. May Krishna bless. We are meant to be spending our lives inquiring into the absolute truth. And then, as the final statement, Sutta Goswami says, nothing else should be the goal of one's works. So, we're all householders. We have so many obligations and duties and commitments, but please keep in mind that somehow or other, amidst all of this, that inquiry into the absolute truth, don't forget about it. And don't think, oh, I'll do it when I'm old. You are already old. See, that's Maya. Maya says, oh, we can do that when you're old. And I told you the story, but for those who never heard, one time in Panama, I visited one shop, and there was this old man, and when he saw me, he decided he wanted to confess his sins. So he said, Prabhuji, I like to drink. I like to go to the club. I like to watch naked dancing girls. I said, oh my God. I said, when are you going to take up spiritual life? He said, when I'm old. I said, how old are you? I'm 70. So I told him, you're 70 and you don't think you're old? That's Maya. I'll do it when I'm old. No, old means now. So next month when I come, the verse will be the definition of the absolute truth. So don't miss next month's class. Hari Haraye Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Rama Shri Madhusudana. Gopala Govinda Rama Shri Madhusudana. Hari Haraye Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Hari Haraye Namaha. Hari Haraye Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Haraye Namaha. Hari Haraye Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Haraye Namaha. 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 Srila Prabhupada ke